All right, guys. So President Joe Biden just went behind Congress's back in order to get this done. And some experts are saying that this could be the precursor to World War III. This is coming at a time when we're seeing insane friction between many different groups, many different countries. And it's also a time when the United States is under the great threat of multiple rival countries like China, we got Russia, we got Iran, not to mention the continued warnings that we get on a regular basis from the likes of Hezbollah, Hamas, and of course the Houthi militants. Now, situation's so dire right about now, especially for the Biden administration, that even our lawmakers from their own very parties, they're criticizing their latest move. Did you guys hear about this one? I covered this in a previous video. But anyway, one of these particular moves will particularly be probably affecting millions of Americans in all corners of the world. And if you don't believe me, I got something that I want to share with you guys. It's really going to open up your eyes and make you very, very insightful, and you'll completely understand exactly where I'm coming from in terms of the detriment that's coming down the pipeline. And of course, I know that this is not necessarily what we want to hear, but believe me when I tell you guys, this is the information that we all need to know about. So I'm going to go ahead and share this clip with you guys right now.
What is it that you're objecting to? Is it the object of the strikes themselves, or is it that the president engaged in them without congressional approval, or both?
It is the latter. It is that the president engaged in these strikes without seeking congressional approval. And this is a long debated issue, of course, because Article 1 of the Constitution gives the power to declare war to Congress. Article 2 gives the power to the president to direct military forces as commander in chief. And so just backing up, in 1973, amidst the disastrous war in Vietnam, and the ways in which the United States was pulled into that conflict little by little, Congress decided to reassert our congressional authority by passing the War Powers Resolution of 1973. And in the War Powers Resolution, it specifically articulated the instances where the president can initiate use of force and military actions that commit United States forces. And there were three instances. One was a declaration of war. Two is statutory authority is given. And three is instances where the United States faces an emergency attack on the United States or on its possessions or territories. Now, the intent here was to say that the president must be in consultation whenever possible with Congress. And in fact, Section 3 of the War Powers Resolution says that. It specifically says, in every circumstance where possible, the president must consult with Congress so that we have both Congress and the president weighing what the course forward should be.
You know what? Before we go any further, I just want to go ahead and say that this is going to be a really interesting election year. Anyway, so Democrats they're calling out President Joe Biden for bypassing Congress and for authorizing multiple strikes against targets in Yemen that are said to be controlled by Iranian-backed Houthis. This is also worth noting that the president consulted with multiple different countries before doing this. Namely, he consulted with Australia, which is technically a continent, Canada, the Netherlands, Bahrain, and of course the United Kingdom, the UK. That's a lot of countries, right? In the president's defense, they say that time was a big factor and that ultimately going through Congress would probably result in some pushback and kind of delay their plan even further. Maybe the president already knew that Congress wouldn't support it, so he was like, the hell with them. We'll go ahead and drop some airstrikes on these guys right quick. But basically something that they thought was probably not possible given what's happening in the Red Sea. Now, there are multiple mixed reactions with this whole, with many of them saying that President Joe Biden should have in fact gone through Congress, while other people are saying the exact opposite. They may say that, it's about time that he showed less restraint, a little bit more backbone. And, as commercial ships in the Red Sea continue to get threatened and attacked, maybe it's about time that something be done. Now, keep in mind, presidential election year, 2024, you know what I'm saying? However, there was sort of a little bit of a miscalculation, something that many leaders have been warning about. And I mean, the only thing that's really keeping us safe from another world war is the assurance that attacks are kept to actual targets. Okay, so basically, if we miss our targets and hit the wrong thing, we may see World War III overnight. Now, thankfully, the miscalculation came from the Houthis. I want you guys to check this out. So basically recently, Houthi militants mistakenly targeted a tanker carrying Russian oil in a missile attack. Ultimately, this ended up, firing around 90 nautical miles southeast of Yemen's port city of Aden. Now, this is not the first time that this has happened. This is Russia, guys. This is a pretty big deal here. All right. Now, again, this is not the first time this has happened. However, luckily for them, the missile barely missed their target. As far as we know, though, at this point, this was just mistaken, just a bit of a mistaken identity. We'll just call it that, right? But if you think about it, this is exactly what could cause the next world war, right? You see, like I said a second ago, all it takes is just one misstep, one miscalculation, one random stray missile that hits where it's not supposed to hit, and you're going to quickly escalate all of this into World War III. Now, taking into account that the United States is pretty much beefing with everyone right now. I mean, let's just start with Russia, right? Our government has stressed that we need to help Ukraine in order to finish this war. But of course, we're now almost, 2 years into this thing, and they're still asking for way more funding, way more weapons. And this has made our leadership with, our relationship with Russia incredibly shaky. And so, that's one, okay? Now, the next are the issues that we have with Triple H. And no, of course, I'm not talking about the wrestler from WWE, or if you guys are old school WWF. No, I'm talking about this Triple H, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, right? So the United States, they have shown support for Israel amidst this war, correct? Right. And it's exactly the reason as to why the Red Sea continues to get attacked. Or at least that's what we're being told by these Iran-backed Houthis. Man, I got some stuff all over the desk here. I'm gonna have to clean this off later. I had some granola bars and kind of got crumbs everywhere. My wife will probably yell at me for that. Anyway, so this ultimately brings us back to the strikes that were ultimately orchestrated and approved by the Biden administration. Yes, these are the strikes that they didn't talk to Congress about. Strikes that now have both the United States and the UK bracing for retaliation. Basically, we both know that something's gonna come down the pipeline. They ain't gonna just take this lane down, more than likely. Now, as far as we know, their targets are now set on both the US and the UK commercial vessels. However, do any of you guys think that it's gonna stop there? I mean, seriously, do you think that their retaliation will be limited to attacking commercial sea vessels, or will we see any kind of action here on US soil? You guys let me know what you think on that. Now, the White House has repeatedly said that they don't want this war to spill out and ultimately expand any further. However, it does look like there's no other way for it to go but in that direction. Now, before I even continue, by the way, I forgot to ask you guys to do a whole bunch of YouTube-y stuff, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you have, great. If you haven't already, go ahead and do all that stuff. All right, back to the video now. Even though in the eyes of the Biden administration, the message has been sent, right? So the president, he even added, President Biden, he added that Iran got the message and that they know not to do anything, right? But I gotta ask you guys, do you really think that they're gonna stand still and just do nothing? Because some experts, they believe that attacks are coming, and it might not just be confined to the Red Sea. It might not be confined just to the sea vessels and whatnot, right? Now, this means that there is a possibility that Americans here at home theoretically be in danger. This isn't really that far-fetched, okay? I mean, did any of you guys think that we would be seeing conflicts like these, coming out of the pandemic? I mean, as if we had enough, right? Apparently, we haven't had enough. Now, I know you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. We are now entering an era where threats are no longer just words. I remember so many warnings that I have provided you guys early in the beginning of 2023, and so many of these warnings have actually come to fruition, and I wish I were wrong. Now, we discussed our tension with Russia, with Iran, with Houthis, and all these other groups, but you guys remember China, right? Of course. So the country that we just reestablished military, communications with recently, that China, right? So anyway, they also said that, hoping that the conflict in Gaza won't spill over and expand, will, more likely passively indulging it, to kind of drag on. It's a naive illusion. We shouldn't think that, right? But this is what they're saying. So it's like they're saying that the United States talks a certain way, but then ultimately kind of walks in an opposite direction. Basically, we call that being two-faced, or what's that particular sign? Is it a Gemini? Anyway, something like that. So basically, we're being hypocrites. So China also said that these strikes against Yemen, they won't get the results that they're looking for. In fact, they're saying that this is just going to end up making things worse in the Red Sea, and it won't help that at all to basically protect the safety and the navigation of commercial ships in the region, which is a big problem. And of course, this means, this remains to be unseen, but here's hoping that things do actually ease up. However, it is very realistic to think that things may just actually be getting started at this point. But I gotta ask you guys for your take, for your opinion. What do you guys think about all this? Are we headed for a full-blown world war? Is this how World War III begins? I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Leave me some comments down below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Consider subscribing to the channel. And I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Y'all take care.